So today we're diving into something a little different. It's this really fascinating story about a community beach trip to Palenque. It's early morning and everyone's kind of buzzing with that, excitement you get when you're heading to the ocean for the day.
But right off the bat, you get this sense that there's something more to this beach trip. Palenque has a certain reputation,
Yeah, it's known for being pretty deep and having some strong currents.
Exactly. And that kind of sets the stage for our main character, Lorenza.
So she's the central figure in this whole story.
She is. And for her, this isn't just a day at the beach. This trip is tied to a recommendation she got from a bruja.
Now, for our listeners who may not be familiar with that term.
A bruja, in this context, is basically a spiritual advisor or a healer.
Okay. And the bruja has recommended this beach trip as some sort of spiritual thing.
Exactly. Lorenza is seeking a despojo, which is like a spiritual cleansing ritual to help her move past some really tough times.
The sources definitely paint a picture of hardship for her. We see that her husband's left, she's lost her job at a shop near Mella Avenue, and she's been forced to move in with her sister on Jacuba Street.
And that living situation sounds particularly difficult. There's this detail about her sleeping in a sandwich bed, which gives you a real sense of how cramped and uncomfortable things are for her.
You also get the feeling that her ex-husband and his new relationship are kind of a constant presence in the neighborhood. It's like she can't escape those reminders of what she's lost.
So with all of that going on, it makes you wonder, what's really motivating Lorenza to go to this beach, especially one known for being potentially dangerous? Is it purely about the spiritual cleansing, or is there something deeper going on? Think about it.
It is interesting because one of the first things we learn about Lorenza is that she actually has an apprehension about water.
Oh, wow. So going to the beach for her is a real act of, facing her fears.
Yeah, it seems like a huge sacrifice, but the desire to escape her current situation, that feeling of stagnation, must be even stronger.
And that's where the contrast with her ex-husband's new partner really comes into play. Lorenza is described as being in her 40s, a mulatto woman with crespo hair, which is a tight natural curl that needs a hot comb to straighten.
And the new partner is?
She's this much younger, fair-skinned woman from Boni with long flowing hair. It really highlights those societal ideals of beauty and youth, doesn't it?
It does. And there's also all this neighborhood gossip suggesting that the new woman was attracted to the ex-husband's financial stability, his willingness to spend money on her.
Yeah, you get this picture of very different relationship dynamic. It's interesting, though, because the bruja's advice doesn't really focus on the infidelity aspect.
Right. It's all about the potential of the saltwater.
Exactly. There's this ambiguity about whether the saltwater might bring the husband back, but the stronger emphasis seems to be on the saltwater, helping Lorenza herself to move forward, to cleanse herself of the negative energy she's carrying. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it really shows how much hope she's placing in this ritual. Her preparations for the trip are so simple. A change of clothes, a can of sausages, and some soda crackers. It speaks volumes about her limited resources.
Definitely. It's like this trip is all she has to hold on to right now. Now, try to imagine the journey itself for a moment. The source material talks about a guagua banderita, which is this classic Dominican public bus, often brightly painted and a bit on the older side.
Yeah, I can picture it.
It's crowded and lively. Think about all those smells, the food, the deodorants, maybe even a bit of the vetiver de Puig perfume wafting through the air. And then there's the music.
Some El Motor meringue blasting from a huge sound system, I bet.
Absolutely. And you can't forget the shouts and calls from the back of the bus. It's a whole sensory experience.
It sounds chaotic, kind of the opposite of what you'd expect someone seeking inner peace to be looking for.
Well, exactly. And that contrast is further emphasized because we know that Lorenza usually prefers listening to quieter music on her little battery-powered radio. So this bus ride must have felt really overwhelming for her, given her already fragile emotional state.
So they finally arrive at the beach, and I imagine it's just as lively as the bus ride.
Oh yeah, it's a whole scene. Everyone's scrambling for space under the coconut trees, laying down their towels. There's music playing, kids running around, people changing into their swimsuits. It's a lot.
But Lorenza finds a spot away from all of that.
Yeah, she's clearly not there for the social aspect of the beach trip. This is something deeply personal for her.
I love the detail about her putting on that flowered plastic cap that her sister gave her to protect her straightened hair. It's such a small thing, but it speaks volumes about how much care she's taking with her appearance, even in the midst of all this. And then she carefully places her bag and sandals under a tree before slowly entering the water. It feels like a really significant moment.
Like she's preparing for something almost sacred. And then there's that initial shock of the water.
That coldness and that feeling of being surrounded.
The text describes it as being like an island with the water up to her neck. What do you make of that imagery?
I think it reflects how isolated and alone she's been feeling.
I agree. And then she remembers the bruja's instruction. Enter your body completely from head to toe.
I can almost feel her hesitation. This is the moment of truth, isn't it?
It is. And after a moment, she finally takes a deep breath, holds her nose, and ducks under the water.
So what happens next? What does she see beneath the surface?
Well, at first she's hesitant to open her eyes. But when she finally does, she's met with this unexpected beauty. She sees the sand, the clear water, sunlight filtering down, and these little pieces of seaweed just drifting peacefully. It's a moment of pure tranquility in stark contrast to all the turmoil she's been experiencing.
And the text says, she relaxed. That one word speaks volumes.
Right, it's like a huge weight has been lifted.
Yeah.
And then she comes back up to the surface and faces the sun, closes her eyes. She feels the water gently rocking her body, and she has this thought. This must be what it feels like to be free from bad times.
Wow. That's such a powerful moment.
It is, and then she opens her arms wide and smiles for the first time in a long time. It's like she's finally letting go of all the pain and embracing the possibility of something new. It really makes you think about the things we do in our own lives to find that sense of release and peace.
So after this beautiful moment of catharsis, what happens next?
Well, as the day goes on, you see the familiar scene of everyone packing up their stuff and getting ready to head home. The bus is just as crowded and noisy as before. But then there's this really striking detail. Lorenza's seat on the bus is empty.
She's not on the bus.
No. And the story ends with this image of the now quiet beach with just remnants of the day's activities scattered on the sand. Lorenza's bag and sandals are still neatly placed under the tree. And then you see her flowered plastic cap floating all alone far out in the water, heading towards what the text calls the freedom of the immense sea.
That's a powerful ending. It leaves you with so many questions.
It does. What do you think it all means? What's the significance of that empty seat and that floating cap?
Well, it certainly makes you wonder if this was the kind of spiritual cleansing that the bruja intended. Maybe it just manifested in a way that no one could have predicted. And that phrase, freedom of the immense sea, it's so open to interpretation.
It is, and I think that's part of the beauty of this story. It takes something seemingly ordinary, a community beach trip, and reveals these deeper currents of personal struggle, hope, and the search for something more.
It reminds you that even in shared experiences, everyone's going through something unique and often unseen. And that makes me think, what are the waters in our own lives that we might be seeking to immerse ourselves in? What are we hoping to find on the other side?
That's a really great question to ponder. And it's something that I think each listener can take away from this deep dive and apply to their own lives.